Good morning. My name is Paul Dean. I want to talk to you a little bit about my new book, Courage, Roy Blanchard's Journey in America's Forgotten War. Nearly 4 years after the beginning of World War I, America, the only major Western power left on the sidelines, arrived in force on the Western Front. In the ranks of khaki-clad American soldiers was 19-year-old Roy Blanchard. Smartly, he marched away from Paris and toward German lines on a narrow road. Roy walked in line with nearly 4,700 fellow soldiers of the 126th Infantry Regiment drawn from the American Midwest. 4 men made up a row, 25 rows of men made up a platoon, and 100 yards separated each platoon. Roy and his teenage soldier comrades marched in unison, keeping their minds off their 100-pound-plus pack and what might lie ahead by singing. As the road led them into a small forest, they began to hear things. Distant artillery, faint cracks of sharpshooter rifles, bursts from machine gun fire. They stopped singing. They switched to single file, and now the only noise they made was just the crunch, crunch, crunch of their boots on the narrow gravel path. At the edge of the forest, they were met by French guides. These French guides took them through the darkness on that cool, moonless night into the trenches. Most of them went into support positions. One Company I, they led into the front lines. Roy took his place, looked over the parapet towards where the French guides told him the German lines were, hundreds of yards away. And as he stepped up on the fire step, as he looked across through no man's land, he strained his eyes, looking for any sign of movement. Dawn came slowly. And as dawn came, over the trench position, as far as the eye could see, a squadron of German triplanes flew over their lines. And after they flew over their lines, they circled around and went back toward the German lines. Moments later, again they heard the thunder of the artillery. And moments later, shells began screaming down at their positions. And they crouched low beneath their steel helmets, made themselves as small as possible as the shells hit, sending dirt, shrapnel, and deafening explosions all around their positions. Roy's comrade, Private Joseph Guyton of Company I, peeked over the parapet to return fire. One bullet from a German machine gun barrage struck Joseph in the forehead, jerking his head back and killing him instantly. One moment he was with them, laughing, talking, breathing. The next he was gone. Roy, crouched small underneath his steel helmet. Strangely enough, his first emotion wasn't fear, it was anger. My goal with the book, really, is to tell the story of the First World War through the eyes of a common American soldier. They didn't often talk about their experiences. People say that it only took a couple hours of shelling to develop shell shock, or what we often generalize as PTSD. Either way, for Roy, that meant when he talked about it, that he had vivid nightmares, sometimes drowning in mud, sometimes things more dramatic, but either way, it was painful to talk about it, and frankly, what kind of civilian is going to understand what it was like to face shelling, to face that kind of machine gun fire, to see dear friends die. But nonetheless, through his letters, diary, the limited stories that he did tell, his commanding officers, very thorough description of what happened to the 126 during the First World War enabled me to tell this story. And I'd love for you to understand what it was like to live 100 years ago, why the war started, who were some of the major players, what did people like Wilson trying to accomplish, why soldiers went over there and fought in the first place, and most importantly, what was it like to join up in the American Midwest, go over and see a whole list of amazing new things, whether they were mighty battleships, submarines, airplanes, shelling, machine gun fire, and what it was like to summon the courage when your commanding officer blew that whistle and all of you and your comrades went up over the top into no man's land during the First World War. Hope you enjoy the book. If you haven't had a chance to pick up a copy yet, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, or if you're in the Issaquah area, certainly stop in for one of my book signings. Thank you.